I learned about you through Evan, who was like, "Oh my God, you need to talk to Chloe. She's amazing. She's my teacher. She does retreats. I went on one
Oh.
of her retreats." And so I was like, "All right, let's reach out to Chloe, and here you are."
Here I am. He's been on multiple retreats, by the way, so
Oh,
lots of
wow.
them. Yeah.
And how long have you been doing retreats?
Retreats officially now for 5 years. I have to do the math.
Wow.
It's been 5 years. Yeah, just a little bit before the pandemic. So I was starting my retreat business right before the world was shutting down. Um, so a lot of pivots and adjustments along the way. But yeah, it's been an incredible journey so far.
Wow, that's amazing. And you've been through these 5 years hosting retreats or leading them with Kelly,
Um,
your retreat?
we we've finally linked up to create our company, Rising Nature Retreats (R&R), in 2021. So both of us had been leading retreats separately with our own wellness businesses, teaching yoga and wellness. And we were admiring each other from afar. We had this connection in South Florida where we met at a local studios and Mindspace, um, and we were always talking about travel, all things travel, and the dream of merging, our teachings, our the wellness sphere with the travel world. So I was watching her on her side of the world doing her thing, and I was doing my thing. And eventually we linked up for a collaboration, a local retreat in Florida, in Ormond Beach, actually. And she invited me to come on as part of the team. And that's where like the magic happened. We're like, wait, this is so fulfilling to be in a collaborative setting as
Mm,
facilitators. Um, which on a personal level, just like so gratifying from the sense of like, I don't have to do it all alone, which is sometimes as like, go getting entrepreneurs were like, I got this. So it felt really beautiful to connect in that capacity, whereas like partnership can really be beneficial to our own personal journeys as teachers and facilitators. And then we saw also, in addition, like the ripple effect of having multiple retreat facilitators for a group and how that was also of service and enhanced the service that we were offering with the retreat. So yeah, it was a pretty amazing how it all like synchronistically like lined up and really became something.
yeah, I
Hmm.
really love that. It sounds so, like you said, magical. Um, I've done like 4 retreats with my husband. Uh, yeah, together. So that was nice. But it kind of feels like it's still our thing, because we're a couple. But I like the idea of just combining something that you're doing, something that someone else is doing. And I mean, maybe it's just my thing. I don't think so. I think it's a dream of a lot of people to do that, but they don't
Mm.
know how, or like, where do you find that? And I mean, tell me a little bit about how you knew that's when the magic happened, because I mean, I think doing something locally is definitely less of a commitment to dip your feet in and see, like,
Mhm.
let's see how this is gonna go, to really trust that you can find someone that's gonna be there
Mm.
with you, to be like, I got your back and you got my back and we're doing this.
Yeah. Great question. For us, I think we did have, in addition to that retreat that we held in Florida, that was a multi-day retreat. We had been running women's circles at our Fort Lauderdale meditation center and yoga studio. So we had that experience. We had that experience of collaborating and kind of noticing our respective strengths and how
Mm.
that fused together. Um, Truly, there is a hint of magic in our story because the universe aligned us at the perfect place at the perfect time. And then I think truly it was a question of trusting, right? We both felt this intuitive pull to go on this journey of facilitating experiences like this. Um, and on our drive home from Ormond Beach, like literally, I think it's like a 4 hour drive back to South Florida. We came up with a whole business plan on that drive. Like we came up with our name. We took half of like her brand name and half of my brand name, pulled it together. I think it was very much a kindred spirit, like finding people that you share core values with. It was clear that we had very similar core values and what we wanted to create, and how we create space. And then also just identifying each other's strengths and how we can complement each other, right? That's been an ongoing journey. I can't tell you that we knew all of this at the very beginning. There's a lot of growth and relationship building, as
Mhm.
most of us know, as humans on this planet, in community and relationship. But we like to call each other the yin and the yang of the retreat space, because um, we complement each other in that capacity. Like Kelly's usually leading the morning flows, right? A lot of her background is through the Hatha Vinyasa perspective, whereas I'm more of the sound healing and the yin yoga teacher, right? The evening experiences. So over the years, we've really learned um, more about each other. I think it's a space of discovery within the relationship, within like just cheering each other on at our strengths, and how that brings you know the essence or the vibe to the retreat experience. But truly, to answer your question, it was a hint of magic, a hint of the universe aligning as it had to, and a little bit of trust in the experience, and then the willingness to get to know each other a little more along the way.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm really happy for you guys. That's
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank
So
you.
where have you been? Where have
Whew.
you retreated?
Where have we been? Just to start off with, this year alone, we kicked off the year in Thailand, which was absolutely
Ooh.
incredible. What an amazing experience. January of 2024, we led a group to Thailand. And this was really special because Kelly lived in Australia and in Asia for part of her life, and specifically in Thailand. And so she had a lot of knowledge and background on the places and islands that we visited. We typically at the beginning of our journey, a little tip here, we like to create retreats in places that we personally have either traveled to, spent time, lived in, or already hosted a retreat. So this was one of those, um, at least one of those experiences where at least one of us had lived in Thailand. And for me, that was really awesome because it was like a bucket list destination. And I knew that I wanted to do it with someone I trusted and like who knew their way around Thailand. So we started that off leading a group of 8 people to Thailand. And that was incredible. We traveled to the islands of Phuket and Koh Samui. And then in June of this year of 2024, we were in Portugal. Um, and that was just like, this has been this theme that recurs for us every summer. Evan had something to do with this too. He's like, this is truly slow living at its best. And so every summer we connect with our community and we create a retreat that helps us all re-engage with what it means to embrace this pulse of slow living. And being in Europe is the perfect place to do that. So typically we go to a European destination, either Greece or Portugal for the summers. Um, so yeah, that was this year. Last year we were at the beginning of the year of 2023, we're in the Dominican Republic, which is special for me because that's where my family's from, and I've hosted many retreats there in the past, and she has a really special connection to the island and all of its magic. And it's so restorative to have like, I don't know, this retreat experience that was very cozy. We're also staying in tree houses, which was really cool and
Mm.
interesting. Our inner child was just like, woohoo! Like it was so much fun. It was the Rewild retreat that was in January of last year. Where else did we go last year? Last year we went to Greece. We did our summer retreat in Serifos. We're heading back there in 2025. And we also had a retreat in Costa Rica last September. So we've been busy bees.
Wow.
We've
Yeah.
been traveling quite a bit over the last 2 to 3 years. It's been awesome.
And all those places sound amazing. I can
Mm,
see why people are just like, yes, let's go. Take me to
mm,
Greece, take me to Portugal. Those are
yeah.
hot spots right now for retreats,
Yeah.
those two
And they're
places.
all And they're also different. We find that each location and each setting lends itself to a different theme. So we really try to really work with the culture, the local experience of
Hmm.
wherever we go. That's very, very, very important to us. We don't just want to be tourists where we like pop in and pop out. We really want to start to become like develop the mindset of a true traveler, which is not only to
Yeah.
have an experience in a new place, but get to know the people, the customs, the culture, the environment, the nature of the place. So that's really
Yes.
exciting.
That's lovely. I agree with you, and thank you for adding to that. I think that's something that it's a I don't know if it's a skill, but it's a virtue. It's like
Hmm,
something that when you travel, going to another country, have you just kept being conscious, of the people that live there, being mindful, very observant, almost
hmm,
like speak less, observe more, and try to just, involve yourself in the way things are there so you can experience a different way of life.
for sure, for sure.
So, what are
That's
your
a
retreats? Sorry, go
Sorry,
ahead.
some there's a little lag there. No, that just made something like popped into my like mind here because truly that is what our goal is. It's like that experience of conscious awareness, of wellness, of connection through travel. So I just think the way you described that was perfect.
So, what are your retreats about? That was my question, kind of like going into that. So, by the way, I love the name. I love
Oh,
that when it's shortened, it's R&R. So it's like it has a meaning and then it has another meaning within a meaning. Uh, I loved that. I first
yeah.
noticed it when I popped in your website and I was like, wait a minute. Rising Nature Retreats. Travel with R&R. I was like, oh my God, that's so cute. Anyway,
No, thank you. Thank you for recognizing that. That's a big deal for us. You get
yeah.
us.
Yes, I loved it. So, what are
Thank
your
you.
retreats about? I mean, conscious traveling, but is it about resting and relaxing? Is there like personal transformation? What are the themes of your retreats?
They definitely vary depending, like I said, on the location and the thematics of it all. But truly, we want our community, those who are traveling with us, to use this experience of travel as a catalyst for personal development, a catalyst for opening your eyes to new perspectives, new ways of being, um, new ways of experiencing life that are quite different from what we're used to here in our little bubble. Whichever bubble you're a part of, being in a new place definitely accelerates that beginner's mind perspective where you're looking at everything with fresh eyes. Um, you can also feel that sense of joltedness when you're like, okay, this is very different from, what I experience on a day-to-day basis. So truly, first and foremost, allowing the travel to be part of, that expansion of awareness and personal growth. It's also an opportunity for people to get out of their everyday regiment, um, to invest in their self and their wellness. Um, it takes like 2 to 3 days to kind of settle into the R&R experience after you're traveling internationally, getting ready, the excitement for the trip, getting ready for the trip, traveling, getting there, landing. We find that it takes some time to acclimate to the setting where like there's we have an agenda for you. You can choose to follow it or not. You can come to the excursions or sleep in, you can come to the workshops or the yoga or, you know, kind of meander throughout the towns. Truly, it's an experience that is meant for you in whichever capacity you want to enjoy it. But ultimately, our intention is to have our clients really tap into this sense of R&R, rest and relaxation. What does it mean to come back to yourself, to have certain practices within your day that help you regulate your nervous system? Um, what it feels like to not have to worry about making your own meals and know that you have this amazing opportunity to have like the most exquisite meals, and not have to like go grocery shopping. So taking a lot of the everyday things that busy us up out of the equation for our guests so they can have this experience of reconnecting to themselves. And then within that, once they're in a space where they're feeling a little more regulated, a little more comfortable, back into their optimal state of being, then they really have this capacity to connect with others, right? Other people in the group. Um, Whether that's active listening through a group exercise, we do a lot of group discussions that are guided, or a connection somebody makes with someone else on a hike. We find that the community aspect is definitely another thing that people like rave about. Like we've had people make like best friends on retreats and stay best friends, and then decide to do a retreat every year together, or travel outside of our retreat space together, or just continue to foster their relationship. So our retreats really have an emphasis on like how can travel help you broaden your awareness of self, then the element of rest and relaxation to come back to what's important to you, what you need in the moment, and then that community aspect that is truly magical, right? Like those connections are like, I love them so much. It's a big reason
Yeah.
why I continue to do this.
Yeah.
All the amazing people we get to meet.
It's a big reason for a lot of people. For I mean, that is possibly the biggest reason from everyone that I've been interviewing. It's also the part that I love, just connecting with other humans in a way that's so once you allow yourself to bring the walls down and, like you said, acclimate to the space and, like, okay, I'm in this new place, I'm not in my daily grind anymore. The walls come down, vulnerability comes out,
Mm,
and then people just connect on a way that they're not able to in their day-to-day lives because they're just too busy. They don't have time to say hello at the grocery store. You know,
mm.
maybe you're lucky if you get a smile. And it's not to be taken personal, it's just we have so many things going on. A lot of times we forget. We need to be reminded, like, hey, just
Mm.
take a pause. It's fine. Nature does not rush, and yet everything is accomplished. But these retreats are a reminder of that. And then you're like,
Yeah.
wow, I'm here. Like
Mhm.
I'm alive in this moment, and we're living this. So yeah, the community aspect is so huge. I want to ask you a question about international retreats. How long should they be?
Great question. How long should they be?
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion 5 to 6 days minimum.
Yes.
Because of what I mentioned, it takes the body 2 to 3 days to just acclimate. So you got to account for that. That process is part of the retreat, right? Like the R&R, settling in. But you want to make sure there's time to do the cultural experiences that you want to like see and do when you're in a place. Like, you know, we often actually also recommend that after either pre or post retreat, people hang around if they can because they've traveled a long way to get to whatever destination that they're at. And so, some of the services that we provide is some travel coordinating, and consulting, so that if you want to do that big excursion that doesn't necessarily fit into our retreat itinerary, you can do that before or after. But yeah, I wouldn't say anything less than 6 days. I mean, ideally, in my mind, I would love to create a retreat someday that is 10 days. At the moment, the longest retreat we've ever created is 8 days. We're heading to Peru um, next April. And there's a lot to be done in the Sacred Valley, a lot of excursions. And this one is going to be like a hybrid cultural immersion slash retreat experience, which was similar to our Thailand retreat. Some of our retreats are really cozy, at a retreat center where we do a lot of workshops, a lot of educational stuff, and then some other retreats that are more of the tour slash retreats of vibe, like Thailand and Peru. We need a little more time to see all the amazing things on the itinerary. So it's really a matter of preference. Like, this is the beauty of retreat space. It's like, you are, as a retreat leader, you are the creator, right? So you decide like really what the pulse is. What do you want to accomplish? What are your, top core values? Like, what are you wanting to create for your clients? And sometimes that's more of a healing space, and sometimes for us that's more of an exploratory, like, adventure space. So it
Yeah.
really depends.
I like that. That's really cool. I personally have been more in the healing space and attended a lot of the healing retreats. But the idea of going to a place like a bucket list place and
Mhm.
having this retreat in the middle of it, or just, embedded in there somewhere, and then having this time to, like, you create the retreat and I create my experience around it, sounds really nice.
Yes. This is something
Yeah.
we've been chatting about. We're calling it our the R&R Travel Reimagines, because it is our unique take on travel, right? Like, how do you come home not needing a vacation from your vacation?
Yeah.
How do you create a well-rounded experience that does allow you to do the healing, the restoring of your nervous system, but also allows you to see the world and
Yeah.
cultural immersion and experiences? So this is something that, I think people are sometimes confused by the word retreats, because it can mean so many different things. Um, but from my experience, similar to you, like, entering this space, it was very much about like, okay, like, I'm going in for a specific healing intention, and I want to work closely with mentors and teachers to help me break through some of the stuff that might be blocking me, or I'm ready to take my life or my career to the next level. I'm ready for a retreat to help facilitate that for me. And throughout the years and just the experience of being a retreat leader, I've kind of put my own spin to it with the help of Kelly, where you can have a well balanced travel experience that doesn't have to be too heavy on the healing or too heavy on like lots of excursions, like meeting somewhere nice, nicely in the middle, so it feels
Yeah.
balanced and cohesive.
You made me think of something when you said reimagining retreats and travel.
Mm-hmm.
And just coming back to the conscious and mindful travel,
Mm.
I really do think that's such a huge service that you're doing to the world, because living in another country for the last 8 years, I've really worked hard to not be that American, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think
I know what you mean.
education around how to travel mindfully, consciously is a huge service to the whole world, to everyone, because it makes the traveler better. It makes the place that's receiving the travelers more open and more like, oh, this is nice, this is not what I was expecting, kind of thing. And then it evolves the experience on both sides.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had the question and then it went away. Challenges. I always
Challenges.
forget this one. I always get stuck on this one. Like, what is it? What am I go? Oh yeah, challenges. So what are some of the biggest challenge, or maybe just one big challenge throughout this whole retreat planning, organizing process?
Hmm. There are a lot of challenges that come up. um, Before retreat space, like coordinating these, I was doing events locally, small scale, large scale, with hotels in South Florida, mostly around wellness and networking and connection. And I think the biggest challenge overall from the event space into the retreat space is, um, just those unexpected things that can, I don't want to say go wrong, but that can shift an itinerary or shift your plans. Um, and a lot of it sometimes is bound up in the cultural practices of wherever you are in the world. Um, as Americans, we're very locked into the way that we do things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even as fluid as I try to be, and embracing all the places that we go that do have more slow living, I can't help but have my New Yorker nature come out sometimes, and I'm like, okay, this is what the schedule says. We arranged a taxi to be here at this time. Now it's like 45 minutes past the time we were supposed to leave. Like those things are bound to happen when you're traveling internationally, especially. Um, so yeah, I would say personally, I might speak for Kelly here. It's been one of our challenges together as leaders. And we've noticed the value and the lesson there of going with the flow and just doing the best you can and being able to pivot um, as best as you can and communicate that with your retreat guests, because it's also a really, really great learning experience for them too. Like we're in this bubble now, retreat bubble together. And like, there's sometimes like, me and Kelly don't have the answer to the question, even though we've looked for the answer to the questions, but sometimes we have to just kind of go with the flow based on what's coming up on travel. So yeah, the biggest lesson learned there is there's, this openness that has to come from travel, especially internationally, that, you know, comes with whatever particular challenge, whether it's transportation or meals, allowing yourself to pivot when you need to in a way that doesn't like take away from the experience, but in fact can show you more about the personal development. That's the personal development like plug in right there. It's like we are growing through these experiences in every shape, way, and form. Like every way possible. Like
Definitely.
traveling enhances some element of your personal awareness or your awareness of others. It is truly like the accelerator for growth.
Hmm. You are singing my song. I don't know if it's a New Yorker thing because I'm not from New York. Maybe it's a Virgo thing. Maybe it's a,
Mm,
I don't know what kind of thing, but the releasing control and just learning to adapt, be flexible. And it is a huge lesson when people that are at your retreat can look at you and see you just being so, like fluid in everything that you're doing. It's like,
mm,
oh, wow. Because usually there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of frustration. And one of my late teachers, Bobby Klein, has this beautiful meditation where he says there are no obstacles, only opportunities. It's just
mhm,
if we choose to look at them in that way. And
mhm.
so it's beautiful as I say it, but it's different in practice,
Oh, it's
to
a lot of work.
actually
Yeah,
do it.
it's not
But
easy.
yeah, that's the goal. That's what I aim for.
Yeah.
So what about marketing?
Mm. What about marketing?
Oh, are there any? Well, that seems to be where a lot of the challenges are. I mean, there are logistics, challenges in logistics, managing people, managing travel. But as far as filling the retreat, marketing the retreat. So, yeah, what's your system? Do you focus more on building the community physically where you are, and that's kind of how it goes?
That has been what has worked for us so far. I think we have the intention to continue to grow in the capacity where we're going beyond our warm market. Um, but essentially, the best way for us to market and share our retreats and what we're creating um, is first and foremost to plan ahead, to give ourselves ample time to do all the logistics behind just booking the retreat, finding the venue, figuring out the dates. And I mean, we started promoting Peru April 2025 and Greece June 2025 once we got back from Portugal this summer. So giving people ample time, I think, can kind of take off some of the stress, I think, for the retreat facilitator around marketing, because then you can just really pace yourself and create phases of like, okay, research phase, then launch phase, then promotion phase, then planning, retreat planning phase, excursion, all the things. So I definitely say from the marketing perspective, give yourself time, because um, as luxurious as these experiences can seem, because it's just like ideally like a lot of people want these travel experiences, right? Infused with wellness or whatever their intention is. As a retreat facilitator, as you start doing it and really creating these kinds of experiences, you'll start to notice how taxing they can be, and time consuming they can be. So it's really a matter for us of finding a system that gives us space, to be our best selves and not rush it. Um, another thing around marketing is creating live in-person experiences. We started with something called a mini retreat in 2020, because people weren't ready to travel. So we were doing these once a month. It started in Kelly's backyard because she had an awesome yoga deck that her husband built during the pandemic, like fun home projects. But we created this space where once a month we would gather. It would be a Saturday morning, and it was this idea of a mini retreat, right? Like, and this time in our lives, we can't really get on that plane and go on the retreat that we want to. So how do we create more of these experiences at home? And so that for us has stuck. We no longer do it every month because it's a lot of event production now that we're doing large scale events, but we do it once a quarter. And that helps your potential client capture the feeling of retreat, right? Of course, they can look at a landing page and they can hear you talk about it on social media. But if you leave your potential customers with a true felt sense of what it's like to invest a whole afternoon on their wellness, on deep, beautiful conversations, on sipping, warm tea after an amazing yoga practice, quieting out your morning and just allowing for some self-reflection through journaling, which is a big part of what we do. Like, that sticks. People are like, oh, I know what retreat feels like. Imagine doing this for 7 days. Imagine doing this for 6 days. So I would say the local experience has worked really, really well for us. And then it just creates a sense of community. People want to come to the next event or the next retreat because they know their friends are coming, right? They know they can plan together for this. And I will say, like, a lot of our customers are repeat customers, are repeat clients who had an amazing time and want to continue to enrich their life through travel and wellness by going on an R&R retreat. So um, that's kind of our secret sauce for now.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
genius. My yoga teacher, Laura Burkhart, who has an interview on the channel, we probably need to redo it because the reception wasn't that great. But the value that she offered, and she calls them repeat offenders, which I thought was really funny.
I love that.
Yeah, she's really funny. She's hilarious. So yeah, I love that. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It's the same thing of like when you're at Costco or whatever, wherever you are, and they give you that little sample, and it's like,
Hmm.
that was really good. Maybe I should buy the whole
Hmm.
box, you know?
Hmm.
Well, hopefully it's not from a box, but
Yeah.
you know,
But yeah,
you know what I'm
retreats are
saying.
a new, yeah, for sure. But retreats are, I wanted to add to that, like, some people haven't been on retreats. They don't know what to expect. They love the idea of it, but what is it really? um, and so I think if you can showcase the value of it from an experiential perspective,
Hmm.
um, it has more of an impact, right? And then we talk about impressions when it comes to marketing. I think back in the day, like, people had to see something like 7 to 10 times before they purchased it. Now it's like 14 to 20 times before they buy. Um,
Yeah,
but those are like impressions online or, marketing on social media. Whereas, like, I think when you have an in-person experience, it bumps you up a little closer because people are just like, okay, I get this. I want this. I want more of
yeah.
this. So pretty cool.
And the community aspect, just connecting with other people, because I've heard, I mean, one of the reviews from the retreat we did in Tulum was funny. It was from Kim, and she's a singer from Nolans. She's an
Yeah.
amazing human. And she's like, yeah, when we first, because we didn't know each other, she just booked online. And then she's like, yeah, we're like, okay, we're gonna go to Mexico and like we're gonna meet these people. We don't know who they are, like maybe do some hippie shit and like I don't know. There's so many unknowns and there are a number of people that are willing to take that risk and just be like, let's do it. Let's just see what
Yeah.
happens. But I think the majority are like, who are these people? Like, who am I gonna be with? If we have to share a room, like, oh my God, who is that person? Do they smell? Am I gonna like them? And
Yeah.
so having these events where you can meet the people and it's never what you think. It's always the opposite, right? That you meet them and you're like, oh my God, they're
Yeah,
amazing and I love them. And so just breaking that barrier with,
for sure.
that social anxiety is huge too.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of and there's also a lot of anxiety about travel, period, right? Like we get a lot of questions around just like flights and passports and visas and what to do to prep. And I think that has definitely become another way we go above and beyond with we have a welcome call on Zoom before we head out on retreat to answer any questions. We do have some level of like a concierge offering where you feel like the whole from the minute you submit your deposit you feel supported on the journey. Some people are traveling internationally for the very first time with us at R&R, which is pretty exciting and amazing. So yeah, definitely the retreat space and the travel space requires support, and we're here for it.
So how do you travel with your sound bowls?
Oh, best question you've asked. Oh, it's so complicated.
Yes, I can imagine.
So we've done a couple of things. I've definitely traveled with sound bowls, and because I'm oftentimes people who are traveling with us or traveling locally with us, I can like say like, hey, can I add an extra like checked bag for you so you can use your carry-on for my sound bowls, right? We started there from scratch. Um, so option one, you travel on the plane with them as best as possible. TSA will give you a hard time no matter what because they're so curious by it. I'm like, oftentimes I'm there at TSA and they're taking out one bowl at a time, and I'm having like a mini panic attack. Like, whoa, gentle. So that's not always. I mean, if you have to travel with bowls that way, then you'll have to. You just have to be uber careful. What we've done over the years now is try to connect with a local sound healer in the area, which then gives us another opportunity to connect with local culture and see what their offerings are. There was no way I was traveling to Thailand with sound bowls. So it was really great to connect with a particular sound healer on the island of Koh Noi, and she just used Tibetan sound bowls, and that was like her only modality. It was so incredibly cool and awesome to have her experience as a sound healer. Um, there are other times where we can find ways to rent sound bowls from other local sound healers. In Costa Rica, we did something similar. I was able to bring some of my instruments, like some of my drums and my chimes, but for the crystal bowls, we connected with a sound healer there who was also like a Reiki practitioner and was able to, oh, and also a guitar player and an amazing vocalist. Like, wow, that sound healing ceremony was epic. But oftentimes we're either contracting out to have other people play sound bowls and use their equipment, or we're doing a hybrid where I'm bringing some stuff, they're offering some stuff, and then it gives me a really cool opportunity to like come up with a class, like co-teach with a facilitator in whichever country we're going to, which I gotta say is become one of my favorite parts of all of this. So much to learn in the process.
That's really cool. And lots of options there. I would
Mm-hmm.
be I would be yeah, I don't think I'd be able to travel with my sound bowls. I don't think I that thing that you just said about like taking one at a time.
Oh, every time.
I, yes, I was at a yoga studio putting them away and you're at a yoga studio, people are generally mindful, and they were like, "Can I help you put them away?" And I was like, "No, nobody
Yeah.
touches them but me, because if one of them breaks, it's my fault."
Yeah,
Right?
for sure. I understand that completely. Yes.
So, and so you do sound bowl certifications. I hadn't heard of that. I just
Yeah.
kind of taught myself on YouTube, but that
Yeah.
sounds amazing. How did you get into that?
Well, to your point, I found that there was just a lot of teachers, um, or non-teachers, non-yoga teachers that were curious about sound healing and the benefits and how to play them and how to share them. Um, and it truly was not my intention to create a sound healing course in any capacity. Um, I just People were just asking. They're like, "Can you put something together like a like they were doing it for me, a weekend long format where you teach us all those things?" And I was like, "Okay, maybe." And then that question just kept coming up. And so for me personally, I find there's a lot of um, benefit in having some sort of education and background when it comes to sound healing. My background growing up was music. In my elementary, middle school, high school, college years, I played the French horn in an orchestra, in a symphony orchestra, which was, you know, very collegiate, very academic, very structured. And over the years now, I'm in this like very fluid healing space of sound. But sound is still at the core of what I do. And so I do bring some of that music background and understanding the tones, how to use them, how to layer them, the technique, how to create a really beautiful and balanced sound experience for your clients so that you as a facilitator understand the intention and purpose behind the nervous system regulation, uh, your vagus nerve. That's what's coming up. Understanding the vagus nerve, understanding how also to infuse meditation. That's a big part of my course. It's like, how do you facilitate meditation within the sound healing space, when to speak, when to allow the sounds of the instruments to do their magic. So, yeah, a little bit of the art and science kind of fused together to help people feel a little more empowered. I myself, I love being a student, right? Like, I have taken personally 4 different sound healing certifications myself because I just wanted to learn more about sound. Um, and whether I chose to adopt certain techniques or not, or devise my own, is kind of a mixture of like learning from my teachers, of course, and then like putting my own, essence into what I do. But this has been a fun development over the last 2 years. It's just like creating this beautiful course, and I'm really proud of it. I'm really excited to continue to share sound and the science and art of sound with other people who are interested in learning more.
That sounds incredible.
Thank you.
That sounds incredible. I'm also a musician. I got a
Mm.
vocalist. I mean, I was in orchestra. Yeah, we have a lot of similarities. I'm feeling the
Yeah, this
vibe,
is so
Chloe.
cool. This is so cool. Awesome.
Um, I was in magnet schools since I was in elementary, and like choir, orchestra, violin, viola, steel drums, all the stuff.
Nice.
And
Very
I
cool.
did feel like it was very over here. And then as I got into this healing space, I was like, but where's the music? But where's the
Mhm.
music? And then these other things started calling me. So I can completely appreciate wanting to dip into that. And I just love everything that you talked about, like the art, the science, the technique, the fact that you bring this music background, also I guess I mean, mindfulness is not the word, but like it's the way. It's the
Mhm.
presentation, because you could play the sound
Yeah.
bowls, or you could play like give this
Mhm.
sensorial experience that really touches the heart in a deep way and just makes
Yeah.
you the frequencies, and when to speak, when not to speak, or even singing with the
Mm.
sound bowls and what that would look like. So yeah, your certification sounds amazing, and I'm gonna
Oh,
check it
thank you.
out now that you've sent me the
Mhm.
link, and I'm gonna put it in the description. So does it is it online or is it in person?
It's in person. As of now, I
Okay.
have not been able to master. Um, it has been quite a summer of testing all the mics and um, all the ways. I do have this one-on-one mentorship. Like if you aren't able to make the group setting that's in person, we can do one-on-one mentorship where I take you through the whole course of getting certified,
Mm,
but you would need your own bowls at home. Oftentimes people who come into the certification retreat space for sound healing, like I provide some bowls for you to use and kind of
okay.
experiment with different instruments and so forth. But yes, there are ways of doing it online, but as of now, the group offerings that I have for January of 2025 are all in person, with either a retreat format or just like a weekend long certification
Oh, a
format.
sound bowl certification retreat.
It's happening.
That sounds amazing. Can you imagine a choir of sound bowls?
Oh, yes,
That
I
would
can.
be wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I go crazy with one. Can you imagine? Like
hmm
five people with it'll be like,
hmm
oh, we'll be floating.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
Good style. Okay. I'm gonna look over at the questions over here um to see if I missed anything. Because sometimes I do. I think we got all of them. Is there anything that we've missed from your side that you would like to share about retreats?
Hmm. Um, what would I like to share about retreats? I would just say if you haven't been on a retreat ever before, take the leap. Go for it. Um, it is such a life enriching experience. I think back to the first retreat I ever attended as a guest and how transformational it was. Um, not only specific to the themes that we were working on, but there was like transformation that I didn't even know I signed up for. And then boom, I returned home feeling lighter and inspired again. I feel like retreats are an invitation to like fall in love with life all over again, to do some deep healing if you want to, and whenever you're ready for it. But ultimately, it's just like this re engaging in presence, which I find to be so valuable. Um, and if you're a teacher or facilitator in any capacity, and if you've been thinking about doing a retreat, like also go for it. Like, go for it. I know there are a lot of little things to consider and put together along the way. But ultimately, if you're showing up to, be of service and create a lot of intentionality in what you're doing, it'll be awesome. No matter what subject you pick, like truly a retreat space is like the ultimate creative space. Like you as a facilitator can make it whatever you want it to be, and your
Hmm.
people will come. They will come. They will resonate, and then they'll become repeat offenders if it really resonates.
Exactly.
Yes.
I agree. Okay, so now I just remember I have two more questions.
Okay. Okay.
You
Go for it.
good? Okay, so what was the craziest thing that ever happened on a retreat? That just you were just like, so when I say crazy, I mean,
hmm
because that's so objective, right? Crazy.
hmm
I guess what I mean is like, not that it's negative, but I guess it's funny or it's just really like, oh my God, what is happening here? Have you ever had one of those moments?
Yeah, we've had our fair share of those moments. Um,
Okay.
okay,
Please
I'll
share
share
one.
one of them. I'll share
Yeah.
one. So, in Greece, there was a beautiful shala. Oh my god, the most beautiful shala I think I've ever practiced in. And it's like overlooking the Aegean Sea and all the mountains, and it's just like, what? We get to practice here. And they had most props. They had yoga mats and straps and blocks. So most of the things. But for our yin practice, the way I teach, you typically need some sort of pillow or bolster or blanket. So we were missing those. Um, so I invited everyone in our WhatsApp chat to just bring something comfy, maybe just a cushion from their couch, to be mindful and respectful. And the shala was very clean. So it wasn't like we were like throwing these in the dirt, or in the grass. Just be mindful of what you're taking so you return back into your room. But see if you can just bring something cushiony for the experience. So everybody's walking out of their room with like pillow. I think Evan brought like 2 pillows under his arm. And as we're beginning, we're like in our first pose, everyone's set up using their cushions and pillows and blankets in whatever capacity they are. And like the retreat venue manager came over and was like, "I'm sorry, ma'am, we can't have you use these pillows for your class." And it was just disruptive and like kind of awkward because I was already mid class and I was like, okay, everyone, we got to collect all of these. And so for me, like, it's a funny kind of moment. All of our Greece retreat guests, they're like, oh, remember that one time you told us to take pillows from our rooms? That didn't go too well. But that was something also like, kind of bending the rules a little bit to make, be resourceful, but also it was like more of a cultural thing. Like, you don't really take things out of the rooms to bring to the shala. So that's just like a funny story that we always crack jokes about. But it was like a little jolting. We're like in the middle of like our first yin pose, all like, I think it was a forward fold too. Everyone's like cozy on their
Oh,
pillows and relaxed,
so
and the bowls are
nice.
going. And then, the hotel's like, hey, we're gonna need those back. I was like, okay.
I mean, but they're
So
sleeping on it.
yeah, even
What's
though
the
they're sleeping on
difference?
it and spending the whole week on it, and there's hospitality that comes and change whatever. We
All right.
This was a moment back to the pivot also, where we had to just make do with what was,
Yeah.
and respect whatever that hotel's policies were, and like even though we didn't understand it per se, like we just had to accept and move forward. So it's a little bit of a pivot story with like, it's not too crazy.
Yeah. No, but
But a
it's
hint of it.
like you said, it's intrusive. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah,
Okay,
bummer.
so what about the most transformative story? Something that just was like, oh, this is why I do what I do.
Well, I I missed the live in person version of this because I was on a different excursion, but Kelly took a group of women um, to the beach on a surfing excursion. And that's her zone of genius. She loves to surf. And it's something that she loves to do every time she goes to Costa Rica. So we were in Costa Rica, and the waves were pretty perfect that day. And we had someone who was kind of like on the fence about going, um, and had never tried something like that, say, okay, I'm coming, kind of last minute. And so she gets out there, learns a bare minimum. And this is a woman that like I met at the yoga studio where I teach, and she was just so committed. I was so proud of her. I think she won the award of most like classes attended that year. Just was in the studio, getting her yoga on, like experiencing this massive transformation in her life. But like from the perspective of like getting on a surfboard and riding a wave, like way out of her comfort zone. So I didn't get to be there, like I mentioned, live to see all of this, but to see Kelly in the process of like kind of cheering her on, the other girls cheering her on. Um, and after a couple of attempts, finally she wasn't able to stand on the board, but she was able to like get on her knees and like ride out a wave. And like one of the girls captured it on, on, on their phones. So we have, I mean, it's blurry and like there's sand and water everywhere, but we captured our retreat guests getting on riding her first wave. And when she gets out of the water, it was just like the way they describe this to me is like a euphoric moment. And she came out and she's like, today is the best day of my life. I
Oh,
cannot believe I did something that I never ever imagined I would have done. And like the whole retreat experience, experience itself was big for her. She had never traveled alone, like without her family members. She didn't know most of the women coming on the retreat. Everything was new, 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 new. And the fact that she was able to then like go to the next level of newness and challenge herself in that way and come out of that experience just like beaming. By the time she got back to the casitas where we were staying at, like I was like, what happened on that excursion? What did I miss out on? And she was just strutting and she was on top of the world, and she's like, if I can do that, I can do anything. So
Wow.
that was incredibly transformational. And it's like the smallest things, right? Like getting on the surfboard for the first time and having
Yeah.
other retreat guests cheer you on. So that was amazing.
That sounds amazing. My hair was standing up the whole time. I always know it's a good story
Mm.
when my hair is just go bling.
Oh yeah, that was so amazing.
Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing all of that with me. It was amazing to chat with you.
Yes, it's so great to have these conversations and meet you and connect. And I look forward to watching more of the episodes on your YouTube. I started this week and I was like, whoa, this is value packed. It's great as a retreat facilitator to listen to others who are in the same space, creating perhaps different experiences, but all with, the pulse of truly creating like transformational experiences for guests and healing spaces and personal growth opportunities. It's pretty cool.